So how does it work? I know you do what you call the 3-2-1 practice is a big part of kind of integral shadow work. Can you tell us a little bit about how it works?
Yeah, so you can take a body symptom, you can take a dream, you can take a world event. When we do the practice, we generally ask people to look at a person who is provoking them and what the quality of that person is, you know. And so the first thing we do, we make use of Ken's really elegant descriptions of the third person, the second person, and the first person. And what we can't hold in our first person gets moved into the second and into the third. So I'll give you a really quick example just for people who are listening. A good friend of mine has a little 3-year-old daughter. She spills a glass of water on the carpet. He's about 6'1". He looks down at her and he says, "What did you do?" Well, her little being, she can't hold that feeling of culpability in her first person. She looks at him, second person, her father. She's way too related to him. So then she looks at me across the room and points to me and says, "She did it." Right, so she spills the water. She I can't do it. I couldn't. She looks at him. He couldn't. Then she looks at me and she says, "She did it." So the third person looking at the he or the she that's out there is the place to look for it, because usually by the time it gets into relationship, it's very close, and then again, we can't hold it in our first person. So let's just say, for instance, that I see somebody out there who's just arrogant in a way that's, let's just say judgmental, like judgmental of my way of being, and I see that person, and I just feel their judgment, and so I see how judgmental they are and how non-accepting they are, and then I notice, well, that's interesting, like I'm disturbed by that. And so the first step is really to notice it, because what we notice in awareness, giving our attention automatically changes things, to be able to describe it in third person. So this is the quality of it. This is what I don't like about how this person shows up, the detail, the kind of sneer on their face, the judgment I can feel in their voice. And then the next step is that I bring that quality of judgment, and now I start to have a conversation with it. So it's in second person now. So I've brought it in a little bit closer. I've brought it into my relational field. It's not an object anymore. It's now I'm in relationship. So I just start to have a conversation with the judgment. You know, like why are you so judgmental? Like what is that? And particularly, why are you so judgmental of me? And the judgment might say to me, because you deserve it. You know, you're not up to snuff. I mean, you need somebody who's actually giving you some good feedback, and I'm the person here to do it. So I start to have a conversation with that judgment and really notice what happens for me when I'm talking to it. And sometimes certain things get illuminated in that process, and then I move one step further where now instead of talking to it, I now am it, and I take the role of the judgment. And I feel my opinions, and I feel my preferences, and I feel my, the way in which I think this should be this way and that should be that way. And then all of a sudden it occurs to me, oh, I get it. Oh, my gosh, I've been judging that person. Like I didn't see it.
Meaning like I was judging them for judging me? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, oh, my God, like this is actually about my inability that I can't just simply let that be what it is, that I have an enormous judgment that I want that person to be different. But I didn't even experience it myself. I only saw it out there. And so this practice of moving it gradually and closer and getting to know it until you can hold it in your own experience. And then you see that, in fact, this is me. Now, we want to make a distinction between judgment and discrimination, because we need to make discriminations all the time. Spiritual practice involves discriminations. It involves cutting off negative habits. It involves, identifying with that which is larger. But to the extent that I see that I, too, have that place of judgment in me, I actually can free that person of my projections. When the Buddha was enlightened, he said, when I was enlightened, all sentient beings were enlightened. That by freeing myself, I literally free everyone else of all the confusion that I'm putting out into the world because of the deep parts of my interior that are just simply not metabolized, mainly out of painfulness. And that when we actually do own it, there's a liberating of energy that comes up. There's a lot of creative energy that's available. And sometimes we have to also grieve a little bit, our humanity.
Yeah.
And it's not that we're not capable of more as humans. It's just that we have to simultaneously hold the paradox that to the extent we make peace with our human predicament, we open up the space to evolve. And to the extent that we're not able to make peace with it, we close the space down. So this is this deep reckoning with ourselves and with, coming home.